All right, here we go, man. Back again. This is ERGJ, your certified financial educator, and we're in the money mind shift, how rich people think. And so, as you know, we are going through the book, How Rich People Think by Steve Siebold. Of course, Steve Siebold, make sure I get my check. But here's the deal, guys. I decided that I would open up my library because people were asking, what did I read and stuff? And then I would say to them, hey, read this book. And they wouldn't read it. And of course, I attribute a lot of my ability to get out of debt to what I read, what I fed my mind. So I believe that wealth begins in the mind. So I'm opening up my library and I'm doing something different. So it's telling you what to read. I'm just going to read it. And hopefully there's some nuggets that you get away from the conversation today. This takes about 15 minutes. We'll be going through a chapter or a piece of this book. And in the book, we have a quote of the day, a critical thinking, a question, and actually an action step. So let's do a quick recap from the week. Day one, we talked about saving versus earning and how rich people, they focus on serving more people and solving more problems, which is how they generate more income. Day number two, we talked about linear thinking versus nonlinear thinking and how poor people, they focus on trading their time for money, while rich people focus on trading money for money. And then in the third day, which was yesterday, we talked about what did we talk about yesterday? We talked about hard work, where poor people, they focus on, hey, if I work more hours, then I'll make more money, and versus rich people who focus on working smarter, which means that they're compounding their efforts, which is generating compound exponential results. And so that's what we talked about the past 3 days. And now we're on to the fourth part or principle number 4. And we'll get into this by Steve Siebold. So again, I'm just sharing what helped me to get out of debt. I'm sharing what helped to transform my life, which was what I was putting into my mind, which was outputting into my life. Hey, they'll tell you all the time, any successful person, any rich person will tell you that, to read. And unfortunately, most people just don't read. So this is 15 minutes of my life inputting into you, sharing with you and reading to you things that I've read, and hopefully it'll make a difference in your life. So let us begin. World class believes money is the root of all evil. Or middle class believes that money is the root of all evil, while world class believes that poverty is the root of all evil. The average person has been brainwashed to believe rich people are lucky or dishonest. The biblical passage that states the love of money is the root of all evil has been misquoted by many to say that money itself is the root of all evil. As a result of poor programming and ignorance, the masses are infected with the disease of focusing on lack and limitation regarding money and are uneducated about what it means to be wealthy. The world class knows that while having money doesn't guarantee happiness, it does make your life easier and more enjoyable. And so here's the thing, guys, how have you been programmed to think about money? And we know that all throughout life, there has been programming going on. And the question is, what have you allowed to program your mind as it relates to money and even as it relates to your life? Because wherever you are right now, whatever it is that you think right now, it's all been a part of your experience. And it's all about how you've been programmed to think. Now, here's the wonderful thing. You can change the way that you think. And what I'm sharing with you guys is that wealth begins in the mind. So I got to ask you, what are you putting into your mind each and every day if you want to get out of debt, if you want to be financially free, if you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy? What are you putting into your mind? Because here's the deal. Out of everybody that I coach, none of them have ever said to me, you know what? I read a book a day. None of them have ever said to me, here is what I'm putting into my capacity, into my mind so that I can output something into my life. None of them. And so I wonder, well, if you want to be rich, if you want to get out of debt, do you read anything about money? Do you? No, most people don't. I'm not saying that you don't, but most people don't. Most people are focused on entertaining themselves instead of educating themselves. And because they choose not to educate themselves, they find themselves broke, busted, and disgusted. So what am I doing? I'm just sharing things that have helped me to get out of debt. I'm just sharing things that have helped me to live the life that most people choose not to live because they're not willing to do what's necessary in order to live the life that they want to live. At any rate, let me get back to the book. Again, we're going through How Rich People Think by Steve Siebold. Again, if I tell people, hey, read this book, guess what? They just don't read it. I don't know why. So I decided that I would just read and share with you some things that have helped me, and hopefully it'll help you. Now, world-class thinkers consciously build beliefs about money that serve their best interests and help them develop substantial sums. It's not intelligence or education that holds back the average person from getting rich. It's the middle class beliefs around money that keeps them struggling to survive in a world of abundance. Would you not agree that we live in a world of abundance? Would you not? And if we live in a world of abundance, and for most of us, we live in wealthy places, well, what's keeping you from grabbing some of that wealth? What's keeping you from grabbing some of that abundance? For most of us, it's the way that we think. Quite honestly, for most of us, it's the way that we think. If you want world-class wealth, copy the beliefs of the wealthy. And here's what I tell people. If you want to be wealthy, do what wealthy people do. Now, here's a question. Do you know what wealthy people do? Do you know how wealthy people think? Do you know how wealthy people operate? Because most of us, we know how poor people operate. We know how poor people think. We know how poor people, go about their day-to-day business. They go about their day-to-day business watching TV, browsing the internet, doing nothing productive with their life. I mean, they go to work. That's great. And again, we talked about how the rich people don't think about working harder. They think about working smarter. So the question is, what are you doing? And do you understand how rich people think? Do you? And that's one of the reasons why we're going through the book. So while the masses, if you want world-class wealth, copy the beliefs of the wealthy, knowing you will eventually begin to behave based on those beliefs. You act how you believe. You act how you believe. So whatever it is that you believe about money, whatever it is that you believe about acquiring wealth, whatever it is that you believe about debt, that is how you act. But here's the wonderful news. If however you thought has brought you to this place, and what's brought you to this place has not brought you to a place of wealth, guess what? You can change the way that you think. How? By depositing new information into your life and changing the programming that is going on. Because believe it or not, wealth begins in the mind. What you put in here will eventually output into your life. So look at your life right now, and if you're not rich, then ask yourself, am I ready to change? That's it. That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. So here's the deal. Let's keep going. While the masses are searching for answers on the outside, the great ones know building wealth starts on the inside. Let me repeat that again. While the masses are searching for wealth on the outside, the great ones know that building wealth starts on the inside. Are you willing to do a self-analysis to start on the inside and recognize that, hey, I can build wealth. I can get out of debt. I can do the things that wealthy people do if I'm willing to learn what wealthy people do. It's a simple equation, right? Like if I wanted to learn how to swim, guess what? I got to go learn from swimmers. If I wanted to climb a tree, I got to learn from people who climb trees. If I wanted to be a dentist, I need to learn from being a dentist. Well, hey, guess what? If you want to be rich, if you want to get out of debt, if you want to be wealthy, you need to learn from people who have done those things before. We've got plenty of examples in this world. We've got plenty of wealthy, super rich people in the world. And hopefully this experience is going to help you to just take a moment, think about where you are in life, decide where you want to go, and then start to put things into your mind so that you can have the output for which you like to receive. First, you build world-class beliefs around money, then you take action based on those beliefs. Your results will follow your actions. Would you believe it's that easy? Most people don't. Why not give it a try? What have you got to lose? Now here is the quote of the day. It says, run for your life from any man who tells you that money is evil. That sentence is the leaper's bell of an approaching looter. That's from Ayn Rand. Run for your life from any man who tells you that money is evil. That sentence is a leper's bell for an approaching looter. Now, here's the critical thinking question where I'd like for you to just think about. And again, this comes as a part of the book. And if I tell people to read this book, they just don't read it. But hopefully this conversation, this lingo that we got going on is helping you out today. Are you ashamed of your desire to be rich? Are you ashamed of your desire to be rich? And now here's what I find, guys, and that's the question for you to think about. You can type in the comments below however you think about that question. Are you ashamed of your desire to be rich? Because here's the deal. When I go into, for those that don't know, I'm a certified financial educator. I teach people about money. And so I go into the schools, I go into the churches, I go into the organizations, I go and talk to the families, and I talk to them about money. And guess what? It's a very uncomfortable conversation because most people are ashamed to talk about money. Now, isn't that interesting? That if we won't even talk about it, how do we expect to bring about it? It makes no sense, right? We won't even talk about it. And so what I find is that most people will tell you what they would like to do. They'll tell you that they want to do this, 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 and this with their life, but none of them will ever say, hey, I want to be rich. Think about that for a second. You can focus on all the things that you want to do in order to maybe probably to acquire money. But most of the time what we're thinking is, hey, I want to do this in order to make a living. We never think about, hey, I want to do this to make a fortune. How many of you guys, when you were younger, and if somebody asked you what you wanted to do, you say, hey, I want to be a pilot. Hey, I want to be an actress. And then they ask you, why do you want to do it? Oh, well, because, it's something I like to do. I want to be able to take care of my family. No one ever says, hey, because I want to build a fortune. No one ever says that. Why is that?